Greetings, friends. Welcome to the Pin Tool Podcast. My name is Al Wayman, owner of Creek Road Pottery in Laceyville, Pennsylvania, next to the cold Tuscarora Creek. Pull up a chair around the wheel as we discuss topics concerning the art and craft of pottery, good books, storytelling, marketing, and creating work that matters for folks who care. Greetings, friends. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 18 of the Pin Tool Podcast. And things got a little hectic since the last 2 weeks. My mother, who is 89, had to go to the hospital, and she is in recovery right now. They found she had one blocked artery, but the other side is clear, so she is in rehab, and she's not happy about it. She just wants to be back home, but she's making good progress. So I've been spending time with her at the hospital and at the rehab center, and been there with my sister and my dad, who is her caretaker, and we have been slowly getting her back in shape. She likes old-timey music and hymns, and so we've been trying to keep her mind off everything so she doesn't get agitated, and she's doing the best she can. So the Tuscarora Creek has been running pretty high here the last couple of weeks. Got a lot of rain, and we had a leftovers from a hurricane come through with thunderstorms, and it overflowed the creeks, and we had some serious flooding, and roads were washed out, bridges were washed out, and the creek down back was roaring. So I haven't done much with the pots due to Mom being in the hospital. I always try to put family first, and so I've been holding off on the wood kiln. I need to get it constructed soon, however, because cold weather is going to start setting in. I don't want that mortar to freeze before I can fire it out the first time to dry it out a bit. But I have enough block for it. I just need to have the meet and greet from the other studio, let those people know what I'm doing, and then set a date to start rebuilding the kiln. Got to get the concrete blocks delivered yet, so that's the only thing that's holding that up. Got to start making work for the fall shows. I have the Susquehanna County Artist Tour coming up in October. September, I'm going to a wood firing out in Mills, PA. I told you in the last episode, I think, mentioned it. The Bill Moon Kiln. And then in October, I have my fall show. So I have quite a bit of work to do. I'm planning on going to all Cone 10 glaze firing, so the updraft kilns can go that hot. So I'm going to be working on formulating glazes. I already have the clay here. I just need to work on formulating glazes and send through some test glazes to see which glazes will work and how they will react with the clay body that I have. So one of the things that I look for in a glaze is a recipe that is easy to make. I need to be able to make it when I'm half asleep after I come off nights, 12-hour night shift, if I need to. So I usually look at the smaller recipes with the least amount of ingredients, usually 4 to 5 ingredients. And it makes it easier to mix. It's more cost effective depending on the raw material. And at the temperature I'm at with Cone 10, I should be able to use ash from my wood stove. So I'm going to try that out. And I have a test kiln I can fire to 10 in. I still need to buy the Cone 10 cones for the gas updrafts and get ready to do that. So what I'd like to do is when I get the wood kiln in, I'd like to fire it out in gas first, at least to a cone 06 bisque temperature to harden up some of that mortar, to put heat to it to dry everything out. I kind of thought if I started the wood box first, I could fire that out. It's like a whole separate chamber. I would just plug it off and fire it, and then next work on the wear chamber, and then the tall chimney stack that's 20 foot high. So I'm kind of hoping to get that finished before the first freeze. So today, what we're going to talk about is the book Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. And this was a book that I read within the last 2 weeks. The book's Save the Cat, last book on screenwriting that you'll ever need. And I'm going to be talking about how you can use the outline for screenwriting and Blake Snyder's techniques and outline to sell your work, and how you manage projects, to get people involved, especially if you do permission-based, story-based marketing and do a lot of online interaction. This outline that he had in his book was amazing. And so we're going to go over that outline and talk a little bit about what that involves and how you can take the customer along on the journey while you do your project. So we're going to go down to the studio, and we're going to sit outside, and we're going to listen to the peepers. It's a beautiful night, warm summer night. And we're going to talk about the book Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. See you then. Greetings, friends. Welcome back. And hopefully you went and got a coffee. Come on over and have a seat on the pottery porch here. We're outside on this nice summer night, and we're going to talk about the book Save the Cat by Blake Snyder, the last book on screenwriting that you'll ever need. And in there, on page, I think it was page 79, let me look here. Should have had it mapped out. Page 70. He has his outline. He calls it the Blake Snyder beat sheet. And it's an outline of how he creates his screenwritings and the different sections that he creates structure with. And anytime you're working on a project, and anytime you're doing promotions, you should always have some type of structure that you would follow. And this is a type of scaffolding, if you will, that I just came across last week that will work great here at the pottery in bringing people along with my story as I create the work. Now, some of us may do marketing differently, but I run a story-based, permission-based marketing, which is different than direct marketing. Here, I don't sell to everybody. I just sell to the people who care, or the least valuable audience. So I show my process online and do a lot of online live feeds and streams as I make the work. And then people can follow me and they learn about the process and get excited about the project. And then hopefully when I have the shows here, local, they come down and they buy the pots off me. And I never thought of using the ideas of screenwriting to apply it to the pottery until I read this book. And I had this book for about a year and a half now. And this is the first time that I sat down and I read it. Dealing with Mom, I had some extra time at the hospital and all. So I got to read this book. So even though I had downtime, I was still learning, while I was comforting my mom. So, like I was saying, on page 70, Save the Cat by Blake Snyder. He also has a website. You can go check that out. But I'll be putting the book information in the show notes, so be sure to check that out. It's the Blake Snyder beat sheet, and I'm going to go down through this. Number 1, opening image, section 1. Section 2, theme stated. Section 3, setup. Section 4, catalyst. Section 5, debate. Section 6, break into 2. Section 7 is the B story. Section 8, fun and games. Section 9 is the midpoint, so we're halfway. Section 10, bad guys close in, the exciting part of the movie. Section 11, all is lost. Section 12, dark night of the soul. Section 13, break into 3. Section 14, the finale. And section 15, the final image. So as he writes, he fills out all of these sections and places the different parts of his screenwrite into these sections, and he puts it all up on a board. So he has some kind of structure to his story that follow the hero's journey and the storyline that is very primitive to storytelling since way back. You see the bards singing these stories in Homer and in the epics, the Aeneid and Virgil kind of patterned the great classics off this style. So there are a few questions that you can ask when it relates to your pottery work and to the projects that you're working on. So I'm going to go through, and there's probably about, maybe 40 questions that you can ask, and we're gonna talk about a few of these. And so number 1, for the opening image, it's not an image because we're not at a movie, right? We're talking about pots. But this would be like the first impression that you give and showing people your project. And when you're testing the waters and you have a new project, so how's this going to go over? You can kind of feel it out if you know your customer segment. You get some feedback from good people, some good friends. So this is like the first impression of your project. How can I make the opening image or the first impression stand out on social media and on your feed? What separates you from everybody else? What separates you from the crowd, right? That's what we're asking there. What colors, textures, elements can you use to create a strong visual impact? How can I use lighting and composition to enhance your appeal of the pottery? And what story does this image or first impression tell about your overall project? And that is pretty big, because if you cannot get people excited about your project up front, you're not going to have very many buyers in the end, right? You want them lined up so you can sell out as soon as the kiln opens. So the second part is theme stated. And this is really important because any project you do should have a theme. So we're always asking, who's it for, what's it for, and what change are we trying to make? We're also asking, how can I reinforce the theme throughout the marketing campaign? What other artists or movement influenced the theme of this project, or who's done it before, right? How does the theme of this project reflect my broader artistic goals? So how do you fit into that and your style? And how can I use the theme to differentiate your work from others? So those are all good questions. So next we moved on to the section, the catalyst. What emotional triggers can I use to spark interest in my audience? How can I create a sense of anticipation leading up to the catalyst moment? What partnerships or collaborations can serve as a catalyst for broader exposure? How can I use timing to maximize the impact of the catalyst? So you're setting up the project and you're doing things to get people excited about it. So those would be the questions that you would ask for the catalyst section. The next section is the debate. How can I use social proof to address potential doubts about what you're making and your project? What questions might my audience have about the functionality of the pots for this project? How can I frame the debate in a way that leads to positive resolution? How can I invite my audience to participate in the debate through polls and feedback? So I've done this before. You run a poll to your peeps. You say, hey, I am making a bunch of berry bowls and strainers. So what do you think a good berry bowl might be? And let me know what you would like if you use them. And they will give you feedback and they will vote. And then you can have votes on color and all kinds of things to get them involved in the process of your project, even in composing your project, right? So next section, we have break into two. What incentives can I offer to encourage immediate action? How can I make the transition from awareness to action seamless? What storytelling techniques can I use to build suspense before the break? How can I visually or verbally signify that the story is moving into a new phase? So there's a lot of things that you can do there, and you can break up the boredom, right, by doing different things and explaining things. So maybe you might even have a workshop showing people how you make what you make, right? The B story. How can I use customer stories to support the main narrative? So this is the story the customers tell themselves about your product and about you. And also they tell themselves stories on how they view themselves using what you make. What behind the scenes challenges can I share to add depth to the story? How can I highlight the role of community or collaboration in my project? What other creative projects or endeavors can I tie into the B story? So next, we're in the fun and games. How can I create interactive experiences that allow customers to engage with the project? What playful or unexpected elements can I introduce to keep the audience interested? How can I highlight the versatility of my pottery in a fun way? What contests, giveaway, or challenges can I use to encourage participation? So even in reality shows like Project Runway and other shows like that, they will intentionally do things right around the midpoint to create suspense and to create more interaction and viewership to keep people interested. And so you can do that too. There's nothing stopping you from doing that, especially today with all the social media, right? Midpoint. How can I use the midpoint to introduce a surprise or twist in the narrative? What visual or thematic shift can I use to signify the midpoint? How can I build up to the midpoint with a countdown or teaser campaign? What message do I want to communicate at this critical turning point? So next section is the bad guys closing in. I don't really see this part as bad guys because I work from an abundance point of view and not scarcity. So I don't see other potters as competition. So these questions may need to be rephrased a little differently for if I were to use this. But here it is. How can I use competitors as a foil to highlight the uniqueness of my own pottery? What fears or concerns might my audience have, and how can I address them head on? How can I use this phase to show resilience and adaptability in my creative process? How can I maintain momentum and encouragement as challenges arise in the narrative? So at this point, you would have your misfirings and all the problems with your project, right? It creates suspense. And then you move into the all is lost phase. And we've all been here, right? You're trying to get everything done. It's big drama for the big show. So all is lost section. How can I craft a compelling narrative around overcoming setbacks? What emotions do I want to evoke when sharing stories of struggle? How can I frame failures as valuable learning experiences? What visual metaphors can I use to represent moments of difficulty? Been here before. I had a kiln firing under fire when I was firing back to back just to get work out. And I knew the mugs were going to come out late. But if I got up at 3 in the morning, it was so depressing. It was raining, had to load the kiln in the rain, and it was quite horrible. But I was able to pull it off. That moment was probably the lowest moment I've had in years here at the pottery. And I always think back to that moment when I have a bad time, because usually the time I'm having now is nowhere near the bad time I was having then. 3 in the morning with an underfired load. I had to unload it and put other work in just to get it done. Yeah. So then we go to break into 3 section. How can I highlight the positive outcomes of overcoming challenges? What specific actions or decisions led to the successful completion of the project? How can I use testimonials or reviews to reinforce the resolution of a story? What new opportunities or insights emerged from the challenges faced? Then you have the finale. How can I create a sense of celebration or accomplishment in the finale? Like this would be your kiln openings, right? What final call to action can drive urgency and excitement? Hey, I'm only selling these pots that are coming out of the kiln right now, this Saturday only. Stock down, because they're not going to be around long. Half of them are already spoken for because you already took people through this journey with you, and they can order them online. How can I recap the journey in a way that highlights growth and success? How can I create visual and emotional crescendos that leaves a lasting impact? Final image. What final image best captures the transformation and completion of a project? How can I use the final image to encourage future engagement with my pots? What lasting message or theme do I want to leave with my audience? How can I use the customer testimonials or reactions as the final image? So then we get into, this isn't in the book, but this is another thing that's added on here that I enjoyed. The general narrative structure. How can I balance the tension and resolution to keep the story engaging? What pacing strategies can I use to ensure the story flows smoothly? When you're glazing, you're firing kilns, there's a boring spot. Maybe you can stop and play guitar for your viewers, right? Have a fun night or something while the kilns are firing. Storytelling techniques. What storytelling techniques can I borrow from other mediums? We're borrowing screenwriting right now, so it is possible. Character development. How can I develop my personal brand of the story? What supporting characters, collaborations can I introduce to enrich the narrative of the story you're trying to tell? How can I use character arcs to show growth and change over time? See, that's amazing. So some potters, they will actually come on and talk about what they've learned from their projects and from their kiln openings. They'll go over glazes and what they did right, what they did wrong, and you learn quite a bit from those reviews. How can I ensure that the emotional journey feels authentic and relatable? So those are some things that you can do. There's another section on thematic consistency for your project, right? How can I ensure that all aspects of my promotion align with the core theme? What reoccurring motifs or symbols can I use to reinforce the theme? How can I tie the theme into a broader social cultural conversation? How can I use the theme to guide future projects and marketing efforts? Then you got the section on audience interaction or customer interaction. How can I use interactive content to involve the audience in the narrative? What feedback or input can I solicit from any audience to shape the story? How can I create opportunities for my audience to share their related stories? And how can I use social media to build a community around the narrative? And I kind of done that here through both using the local trails and also being online. They see the pots made, they participated in making the pots, they followed me through the storyline of certain pots, and then they come down when the sale happens to see the pots and hopefully buy them, right? And so far, that's worked out. So this outline has been very beneficial. This outline is part of the my writing, the Pottery Dailies. So if you haven't checked out the Pottery Dailies, come on over and go to the website under Pottery Dailies. It's on Substack, and you can check those out. And also, feel free to check out my my shop. I'm going to be putting new things in there as fall comes in. It's been a long time since I did an update. I've been trying to build this kiln. Check out the shop. Let me know. Also, I have some posts on my blog that might be helpful for you around kiln firings. All that's free. And let me know what you think about the newsletters and if any of those articles are helpful for you. I try to do one a month with a newsletter, and then a technical paper or post once a month. So 2 posts a month, 1 technical and 1 just like a newsletter on what's going on. And all right, so hopefully you're having a good summer. It's almost fall now. The fair just got over, and the temperature is cooling down some. All right, friends. Well, thanks for listening, and give the show a review. Also, if you want to write me a letter, go to the website, and you can be a Pottery Pen Pal in the Pottery Pen Pal program. That's a lot of P's. Have a couple letters I got to send out and answer. They'll be going out Monday. But write me a letter in old-timey fashion, put a stamp on it, and I'll try to write you back, right? So take care, friends. Keep making work that matters for folks who care, and keep asking, who's it for? What's it for?
and what change you're trying to make.